Pathological Demand Avoidance, Understanding PDA in Autism and ADHD, brought to you by the Neurodivergent Have you ever felt completely overwhelmed by even the simplest tasks? Like your brain just refuses to cooperate, no matter how much you try? Now imagine if this happened all the time, even with things you want to do. That's what it's like for people with pathological demand avoidance, or PDA. But here's something most people don't realize. PDA isn't about being difficult or lazy. It's actually a neurological response, a reaction wired into the brain. And yet, because our society prioritizes compliance, PDA is often misunderstood. Today, we're diving into what PDA actually is, how it connects to autism and ADHD, and why compliance culture plays such a big role in how it's viewed. What is PDA? Pathological demand avoidance is a behavioral profile commonly associated with autism and ADHD. It describes an intense, often uncontrollable need to avoid everyday demands, even ones the person might want to do. It's not simple procrastination. It's not rebellion. PDA is more like an automatic shutdown, a stress response that makes even small requests feel overwhelming. Simple things like getting dressed, answering a message, or choosing what to eat can suddenly feel impossible. So what's happening in the brain that causes PDA? There are four major factors: anxiety and stress response. The amygdala, which regulates fear and emotion, is often in overdrive. Everyday requests can feel like threats, triggering fight, flight, or freeze responses. Executive dysfunction. The prefrontal cortex, which handles planning and task management, struggles under pressure. This makes it harder to start or complete tasks. Emotional regulation challenges. Many people with PDA have low frustration tolerance, so demands quickly become overwhelming, leading to meltdowns or shutdowns. Dopamine and motivation issues. Like in ADHD, PDA affects how the brain processes rewards. If a task doesn't offer an instant payoff, the brain sees it as not worth the energy. What is a possible reason PDA is misunderstood? Probably the compliance factor. In our society, compliance is the rule. From childhood, we're taught that following directions, adhering to routines, and obeying authority are markers of success. Whether in school, the workplace, or social interactions, the ability to conform is often seen as a fundamental skill. PDA directly challenges these societal expectations, not because it is a disorder, but because it disrupts the ingrained belief that obedience equals competence. But what happens when a brain is wired differently, when compliance itself feels like an overwhelming demand? For people with PDA, avoidance isn't a choice, it's a neurological response. Yet because our world is built around obedience and compliance, behaviors that go against this norm are often seen as defiance, laziness, or even oppositional behavior. But what if instead of forcing compliance, we work to understand why avoidance happens? What if we focused on accommodations instead of labeling people as difficult? Let's look at this another way, with what I call the brain energy efficiency theory of PDA. Think of the brain like a battery. When too many processes are running, like managing autism, ADHD, sensory input and emotions, energy drains fast. So the brain defaults to efficiency mode. Fun rewarding tasks equals low energy cost, high dopamine, engage. Demanding unrewarding tasks equals high energy cost, no dopamine, avoid. This could explain why someone with PDA might hyper-focus on a creative hobby for hours but struggle to send a simple email. It's not a lack of ability, it's an energy management strategy. PDA isn't just a childhood thing, it evolves with age. Here's how it might look across different life stages. Children, avoid tasks using negotiation, distraction, or playfulness. Teens, develop more elaborate avoidance strategies like withdrawing or making excuses. Adults, struggle with work and responsibilities, often misinterpreted as unmotivated or unreliable. Turning avoidance into productivity. So how can you work with your brain instead of against it? Here are some strategies that may help. Task pairing. Match a hard task with something fun, e.g., music plus chores. Choice-based motivation. Instead of saying, I have to, try, I choose to. Low demand entry points. Start with an easier version of the task. The bet against yourself. Trick, if you avoid task A, switch to task B. Either way, progress is made. The key to supporting people with PDA, whether it's yourself or someone else, is understanding. When we recognize that avoidance isn't intentional but a neurological response, we can develop better ways to accommodate it instead of forcing compliance. For more free information, please visit the neurodivergentbrain.org. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe.